Pierre-Luc Dubois returns to Winnipeg and helps the LA Kings get their first win of the season. We will talk all about that with a special guest, Austin Stanovich of The Hockey News, next on Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, and we're also on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast. It's a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 17 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, we are excited for today's show for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the LA Kings picked up their first win of the season, knocking off the Winnipeg Jets in their road opener by a score of 5-1. We're going to get into all the details of that, including Pierre-Luc Dubois' successful return to Winnipeg to face his old team. But we're also excited because we have a new guest joining us on today's show. He is from the Hockey News and covers the Los Angeles Kings. His name is Austin Stanovich, and we are excited to have him here. You can follow him on Twitter, or the site formerly known as Twitter. He is at @Stanovich68. Austin, it is great to have you with us for the first time, and thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for my first appearance in the Locked On LA Kings podcast.
And hopefully not the last as well. But great to get you on. And real quick, before we get into the Kings' big win last night, if you don't mind, maybe give us a little bit of your story. Are you an LA Kings fan? Are you from LA? Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. And by the way, congratulations on the new job with the Hockey News.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I did grow up a Kings fan. I grew up in Lakewood, which is, like 30 minutes outside of Los Angeles. So it's pretty natural for me to be a Kings fan. Played the game all my life growing up. Played in college, just club hockey at Long Beach State. And that's where I kind of got into the journalism side of things. Over the last couple of years, I've been able to kind of forge a career in that industry. I got my master's degree this last June from USC in journalism, and that's kind of how I got this job at the Hockey News. Just excited to start there now.
Well, that's awesome. I actually play my beer league hockey out there in Lakewood on Friday and Saturday nights. So
yeah, I'm like 5 minutes away from that rink. It's really
good times. I'm certainly not as good as you, but it's fun to play, and I have a good time with it. So you're going to help us recap the Kings' win last night over the Winnipeg Jets. Definitely want to get your thoughts on the game, but I want to start with Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was kind of the big underlying story of the game, returning to face his old team. And I have to admit, when I first heard about the possibility of the Kings getting Pierre-Luc Dubois, I wasn't really on board. But all I knew about him was his reputation. And once I dug into it a little bit deeper, I thought, well, this guy he produces. If he's so unhappy, I mean, he's still putting up numbers. If he goes somewhere where he's happy, maybe he plays even better. But I wonder what your thoughts were on Pierre-Luc Dubois when you heard the Kings might be getting him. And then once they got him, your thoughts on the trade.
Yeah, initially I was kind of more on your side of not being as stoked. Not so much for the reputation thing. One of the things I've learned in my early career is that a lot of those reputation things around players just aren't very accurate most of the time. But for me, it was the trading of a lot of assets like Gabe Vilardi. Alex Iafallo, I kind of figured would be gone, but I had concerns over would Pierre-Luc Dubois really be a big enough upgrade over Gabe Vilardi to add on 2 players and a draft pick. And, some of those concerns are still there. I'm still not totally sold on Pierre-Luc Dubois as a center right now, if I'm being honest. He does not have a good face-off percentage. He's okay, not amazing defensively. But on the other side of things, I absolutely get why the Kings are so interested in him. He is just an ideal – if he can fix those small issues, he's an ideal center. He's so big. He's so physical. He's mean. He has all the skill you'd expect from a guy drafted where he was drafted. So I'm coming around to the idea. I still think, obviously, it's too early to make any definitive judgments, but I think there are things definitely to keep an eye on with, like, if he can improve the faceoff percentage, if he can get better defensively, the Kings have just an absolute player on their hands. I mean, they have a genuine superstar if he adds those things to his game. So I absolutely get why Rob Blake made the move, and now we just have to wait and see if it works out the way I'm guessing he hopes it does.
Well, very early on in just kind of the first round of this, I guess, advantage Kings, Pierre-Luc Dubois goes into Winnipeg. Here's the booze. Didn't seem to bother him one bit. I know that before and after the game, he answered all the questions from all the media and didn't seem bothered by any of the distractions. I guess that wasn't really a distraction. But most importantly, he goes out there, gets the first goal of the game, and helps the Kings get their first win of the season. So on the ice, certainly a great game for him. And then if you want to look at the other side of it, unfortunately, Gabe Vilardi gets hurt. I believe I saw today he's out like 4 to 6 weeks with a knee issue. And then Alex Iafallo and Rasmus Kupari didn't have a point as well. So at least initially, not a bad beginning, I guess, when you look at that trade between the two teams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a situation where it ends up being bad for the Kings. Like, Pierre-Luc Dubois is a very, very good player. So in that sense, they got the best player right now out of that trade. So that's always going to be a positive for it. And now it's just, again, that wait and see if he can take his game to the next level. And I'm assuming, based on the assets the Kings gave up and the contract they gave him, they feel they can get him to that next level. And I don't think they're wrong. I don't necessarily disagree, especially if he is happier to be in LA. You figure he's going to, have the tools to take it to that next level. And yeah, like you said, Gabe Vilardi, the injury, you hate to see that for him, but it has been a theme throughout his career. And you kind of wonder if that was part of the thinking in sending him the other way in that trade. And, Alex Iafallo is a very good player, but King couldn't afford him. And Rasmus Kupari, a player who I really like, he is what he is. He's kind of a 4C now, and you can always part with those guys.
Well, it was not only a nice return for Pierre-Luc Dubois, but a nice return for Arthur Kaliev coming back from his 4-game suspension. Also had a goal in this one as well. We'll talk a little bit about the first period for the LA Kings and why they were able to stay in the game. But all around, once the Kings kind of got out of that first period, pretty much took over the game, got contributions from a lot of guys. Trevor Moore, certainly a couple of goals there as well. So it seems like once they kind of settled down, I don't know what's going on with the starts of games for the Kings at this point, but we saw a little bit of that last year. But once they got going, we're certainly the better team against Winnipeg last night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first period had a lot of the, to use a phrase Todd McClellan likes, those connectivity issues that they've had earlier in games. They're pretty sloppy with their passing. They weren't really connecting on things. They just looked a little disjointed. But they came out for the second and just looked like a much better team. I think they looked closer to what we expect this Kings team to look like at their peak, and that is just relentless with their top 9, attacking you in waves and now finishing these chances too, which is always a huge plus. I think in the first 2 games, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's not like they were getting dominated analytically. They were getting their chances, they were getting their shots, maybe weren't getting a save here or there, weren't finishing a few of these chances, and it kind of all came together last night for them against Winnipeg.
And when you send out guys like Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, and Gabe Vilardi, you're obviously losing some depth, and we were looking for the Kings to have some of their complementary players kind of stepping up this year. And I think Trevor Moore was certainly one of those guys. He got injured last year, so that certainly hurt his numbers, but strong start for Trevor so far this season. Yeah,
he looks just so good. I mean, he looks really fantastic. I think a lot of people have been saying, Trevor Moore looks like Trevor Moore again. I think he looks better than Trevor Moore has ever looked. He's added a shot to his game that he's never had before. He's consistently been a player who scores under his expected goals, and he does not look like that player right now. If he can, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves at this point and say he's going to score 30 goals, but if he can hit that 20 to 25 mark, that's absolutely massive for the Kings. And talking to him in training camp, I think the concussion issues he dealt with last year were a lot worse than maybe the team or he even let on publicly. He said he was never healthy last year after he got hurt the first time. It was pretty difficult for him, and now he's healthy and able to kind of show what he's capable of.
Much more coming up here with Austin Stanovich. We're going to talk about the Kings goaltending and Cam Talbot last night in Winnipeg. We'll do that and more here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hey, you shouldn't have to worry when you are buying tickets to your next big event. I don't, because I use Gametime, the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm going to see the Steelers play the Rams this coming Sunday, and I use Gametime to buy my tickets. The app is very easy to navigate and use. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and the best price is guaranteed. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. I love how you can view your seats before you buy them so you know exactly what you're going to get. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. All-in prices show you the total up front so you know you're getting a great deal with no hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps of the app. Just download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. eBay Motors has everything you need, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll know exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, you are guaranteed to get your part right every time or your money back. Because of the eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, available to U.S. customers. All right, we've got more with Austin Stanovich, who covers the LA Kings for the Hockey News. And I know a lot of Kings fans were looking for the Kings to go out and upgrade the goalie situation in the offseason. Obviously, they decided to go in a different direction. And then after the first 2 games of the season, Kings fans were obviously hitting the panic button a little bit early. But Cam Talbot last night against Winnipeg was phenomenal. I thought the first period kept him in the game. And then unfortunately late, he lost the shutout. But if we can get that kind of Cam Talbot the rest of the season, I think we're not going to have to worry too much about the goalie situation. But what did you think about his performance last night and overall the Kings goalie situation right now?
I thought Talbot was very good last night. I think it was exactly the kind of game the Kings need from their goalies. They need a couple big saves here and there. They don't need him to stand on his head and have 60 saves or anything insane like that. They just need him to make timely saves, the saves he needs to make. He makes a big save on Kupari on the partial breakaway, and a couple more in the first, like you said, to keep him in it. And he looked calm. He looked comfortable. He kind of looked like what you want to see from your goalie in net. You know, I'm one of those people who's not going to claim to know a ton about the technical side of goaltending. It's over my head a little bit. But, I mean, I think Glenn Murray said it perfectly. If he's stopping pucks, he's playing well in my eyes. And Talbot was stopping pucks last night, so he was playing really well. Overall, I think we still do have to have that question mark. The Kings goalie situation coming in was maybe a little – it was their one weakness. I think anyone can kind of see that, and I don't think we've answered any questions after 3 games, certainly not with the backup situation. We got to see what Phoenix Copley can do in his next start. But I've been saying all summer Kings fans should be cautiously optimistic about Cam Talbot coming in, just because he's a goalie who's found success when he's kind of put in a situation to succeed. When he was with Todd in Edmonton, he had that one really good year. And if the Kings can continue to limit high danger chances like they have in the last 2 years, I do think Cam Talbot will find, again, not Vezina Trophy candidate form, but good enough for him to win them games. And then it's just going to be, you know, is it Phoenix Copley or is it David Riddick behind him? We're going to have to wait and see on that.
Now, we know to open the season, the Kings had made it no secret that Talbot was going to start the opener and that Copley was going to get the start in game 2, regardless of how well Talbot played in that first game. But I got to believe, after seeing that performance in Winnipeg, that the next game in Minnesota, I would be very surprised if Talbot's not back in net. What do you think?
I think that'll be really interesting to see from Todd, just because the reason he said that Copley was going to get the second game no matter what is because he needs to get the games. He needs to get the reps to kind of knock the rust off. So there might be some of that similar thinking where Todd just saying, hey, throw Phoenix in. He needs to get into his form, get into his rhythms, a word he likes to use a lot. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Phoenix Copley in tomorrow night against Minnesota, but I think Cam Talbot certainly earned the start tomorrow.
We all know the Kings penalty kill is going to be under the microscope this season. It was certainly called out last year by Rob Blake. Todd McClellan said in the offseason it was their summer project. So far, and it's early, we have to say it's early with all these things, but so far, 1 power play goal against in 11 opportunities. I thought it looked really good last night against Winnipeg. Not that the Jets have the power play of a Colorado or at Edmonton, somebody like that. But what have you thought so far early on about what we've seen from the Kings PK?
I think it looks good. I do like that they moved to a more aggressive style. They don't kind of let people pass around them and get open spots. I'm still pretty concerned with leaving the defenseman isolated in front of the net. I think that is going to hurt them against better teams, and just in general, having that set up where guys can get isolated easily when you do play high-powered power plays like the one Edmonton has. It's very easy for your Connor McDavids and your Leon Draisaitl's to isolate players and kind of take advantage of that. But certainly the early signs for it look like, if nothing else, it's better than it was last year, which is kind of all you can hope for at this point.
As far as the Kings power play, it was such a strength last year, and we've seen the shorthanded issues with the Kings as far as allowing 2 shorthanded goals against Carolina. They could have allowed a couple of shorthanded goals against Winnipeg, if not for one big save from Cam Talbot, and then the other one, the Jets just kind of botched it. Is this just early season, not in the flow yet, or what's going on here with the Kings giving up these really bad shorthanded chances?
Yeah, I definitely think some of it's just trying to knock the rust off. I don't think we can overlook the impact of not having Victor Arvidsson and really not having a right shot in front of either of the units. Whenever I bring up the power play, I encourage everyone to go back and listen to all the Kingsmen when Jack Han was on there, because he talks about Jim Hiller's power play when he worked with him in Toronto and the importance of having someone with the right-handedness in front for him is massive. And the Kings don't have that right now, so it's kind of throwing off the entire flow. It looks like he's maybe found ways around that where he drops Pierre-Luc Dubois really far into the corner and then has him create from there. But it does change things. It'll take a couple games, a couple weeks probably for them to really get in the flow of things. I'm not at a stage where I'm worried about it, but certainly it's something that fans should be keeping an eye on right now.
Well, you talked about the injury to Victor Arvidsson. They'll have to deal without him for a while, and we've had these issues now with the salary cap and the gymnastics that they're doing with that. Is maybe I'm looking for a silver lining here, but is this kind of early season? I don't think turmoil is too strong of a word, but just some of this stuff that they're having to go through early on maybe gets the Kings ready for whatever obstacles are going to come their way for the rest of the season. And there's no excuses. Obviously, you're kind of starting off dealing with different things, but could this maybe be a bit of a positive for the Kings?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good positive spin to put on it. Obviously, it's never good to lose a player of Victor Arvidsson's quality, but not only does it kind of help them battle through adversity early, it also frees up the cap space for them to carry a full roster now. They don't have to worry about the same things they were worrying about before. But I think just generally speaking, facing those kind of things early I don't think it's ever a bad thing, that's for sure. And they went to Australia and talked a lot about how close the group came from that. They start the season against 2 of the best teams in the league. Like if you're someone who thinks that facing adversity early is a good thing for the team, the Kings have definitely faced it. So that's got to be a positive.
We're going to talk more with Austin Stanovich from the Hockey News about some of the younger faces that we've seen with the Kings so far and some that we may be seeing here in the near future. We'll do that here in just a moment on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Andrei Kopitar scores a hat trick and the LA Kings win the Stanley Cup. That sounds pretty good, right? Well, you know what else sounds good? You winning 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app as your official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. Auston Matthews had back-to-back hat tricks to start the season for Toronto. How hot will he stay? Would you bet on him staying hot, or is his luck running out soon? With Sleeper, you pick more or less based on goals, assists, points, saves, and more. And Sleeper offers 100 times payout, 100 times. And although we love the NHL, it's not just about hockey. You got Major League Baseball's postseason going on right now. The NFL is in full swing. So is college football, and the NBA starting up soon as well. Now's a great time to get in on all the amazing sports action. Make the right picks, and you could win big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right, we are got a little bit more with Austin Stanovich here of the Hockey News. I do want to remind you that the Kings play at the Minnesota Wild Thursday evening, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Catch every moment of the hometown broadcast on the LA Kings Sirius XM channel. It's on the SXM app. Just search LA Kings. Austin, we talked about Victor Arvidsson going down, and as with every sport, they talk about next man up or opportunity for somebody else. Alex Laferriere has come up and looked pretty good. I know there were some Kings fans saying to me, this guy's NHL ready during the preseason. I'm like, let's hold on. Can he play an NHL game first before we go all in? But you know how excited fans get about the next young guy. And Alex Laferriere, doesn't have a goal yet or a point, but looking good. He's got good size. He doesn't seem overwhelmed by anything. And it was fun in that first game when he got into that scrap and his family was going crazy. What do you think about Alex Laferriere?
I think he's been great. I mean, he's a guy that for a while now, every time I've seen him at development camp or this year in training camp, he just continues to impress. And it seems like the Kings coaching staff kind of had a similar impression of him. A lot of guys you see coming out of Harvard nowadays are very NHL ready, and I think he follows that trend. He plays, to use a cliche, he plays the game the right way. He's always on the defensive side of the puck. He kind of plays in straight lines. He's a good fit for guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kevin Fiala. He can kind of be that complement piece to him. Like you said, the points haven't come, and I don't think he's ever going to be a big-time, 30-goal point producer type of player, but I think he is perfect for the role he's playing right now, really complementing two very high-skilled players, and I think we will see points starting to come. And I mean, it's great for the Kings to get him as a part of this second wave of prospects that they need to come up and supplement the team. They need those guys on entry-level contracts to help with, as we already said, the cap constraints they deal with. Having a guy like Alex Laferriere come up and be NHL ready is such a big benefit for them on so many levels.
I've admitted it many times on this show. I'm a bit of a Jordan Spence fanboy. He's getting his chance. I know he did have the bit of the gaff there trying to hold the puck in with his glove, got underneath him for a shorthanded chance the other way. But he is another guy who doesn't look like the moment's ever too big for him. I really like him running the Kings' second power play unit. And of course, there is Brandt Clarke waiting in the wings there. What do you think that situation is going to be like for the Kings going forward as far as the third pairing and will you ever see Brandt Clarke and Jordan Spence together? What's that going to be about?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see Brandt Clarke and Jordan Spence together. Tom McClellan talked a lot last year that he really doesn't like having two guys that are the same handedness playing on a pair together. Yep. Certainly if there was a couple injuries or Tobias Bjornfoot and Andreas Englund really aren't cutting it up there, I don't think they're going to refuse to do it, but I definitely don't think it'll be a first choice type of situation for Todd McClellan. And like you, I've always been a big fan of Jordan Spence. I think he's just a very good player. We talked about it being a positive to face adversity at every level. Jordan Spence has faced adversity and overcame it. And I think he just continues to do that each and every level. And he did beat out Brandt Clarke for that spot. And I don't think I don't think him taking that spot was a knock on Brandt Clarke, who had a solid camp. It was just Jordan Spence was undeniably the better player. I mean, he was so good this camp, and he really has earned that spot over the last year to 18 months.
Alex Turcotte is certainly a guy who's had a lot of bad luck, but it seems like maybe, fingers crossed, things are going his way now. He's already got a goal early on with the Ontario Reign. He had a healthy camp. Seems like he's, at least being healthy enough that maybe he gets an opportunity at some point. Do you think we see him at some point during the season with the Kings?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see Turcotte up with the Kings at some point. I mean, we've already seen a couple injuries and suspensions happen. Those will continue to happen. And I think right now, with Laferriere already up in the lineup, Alex Turcotte has to be the next forward up for the LA Kings. And another player I've liked since the day they drafted him, even, hindsight 2020, you probably wouldn't take him because of the injury problems, but I really like this player. Zach Dooley put it perfectly. His problem is not ability, it's availability. And right now he looks available, he looks healthy, he looks strong. He looks more like the player the Kings wanted him to be when they drafted him. I don't know if he'll ever be that top six center you want from a player who was drafted in that position, but I definitely think he can come up, make an impact in the NHL, and hopefully in the next year or so establish himself on this Kings roster. I asked Rob Blake if they still view Alex Turcotte as a core part of this team's future, and he said, yeah, and I'm going to take him at his word there. So I do think we'll see Turcotte at some point.
And final one for you, I did want to ask you about Todd McClellan, now going into his fifth season as head coach of the Kings. They've made the playoffs the last 2 years, of course, no secret that the organization is looking for more from this team. He did get the 1-year extension before the season as a slight vote of confidence, I suppose. Look, I like Todd McClellan personally, and I think he's done a good job. But again, the organization is spending to the cap. They've made big moves after big moves to improve this team, and the pressure certainly is on him. Do you feel like Todd McClellan's the guy that can get the Kings ultimately to where they want to be?
I don't think he's not, or it's impossible for him to be. He certainly hasn't been up to this point. I'm like you. I like Todd McClellan on a personal level. I think he's done certainly a good enough job to earn that 1-year extension. But I think that 1-year extension is a sign that it's kind of a message to him, like, if you don't get past the first round this year, we're moving on from you. And I think that's probably the right decision from management at this point. He's met expectations or overachieved like he did 2 years ago in every season, but I don't think he's blowing anyone away right now. He is well liked in the locker room. He has, from what I can tell, still has the players on his side, which is always a benefit for any coach. But certainly I think he needs to show this year. It doesn't have to be a cup win, but he has to show that they can go beyond the first round, that they can be a genuine threat for the cup if he wants to continue on with this team.
That is Austin Stanovich of The Hockey News. He covers the LA Kings, and I guess he covers the Ducks too, from what I hear. I don't know why you'd want to do that. No, I'm just kidding. You can follow him on Twitter at @Stanovich, STNOVICH 68. Don't forget the 68. Austin, it was great to have you on. Really enjoyed your insights, enjoyed the conversation. Hope you did too, and we would definitely love to have you on again at some point during the season.
Yeah, I would love to come on anytime you'll have me. It was a blast.
All right, Austin, take care. We'll see you out at Crypto, I'm sure, here in the near future, and we'll be interested to see how the Kings go from here. But thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up tomorrow, we'll obviously preview the Kings game in Minnesota against the Wild. Friday, we'll recap that game, and also on Friday, as you know, it is a LA Kings fan feedback show. Your questions, your comments, anything going on with the LA Kings, you can send an email, lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE, or post your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section below. Really appreciate your feedback, your questions, your comments coming up on Friday. And stay interactive with the show on social media, on X or Twitter or whatever it is, and also Instagram at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, go Kings, go.